No
I
way.
didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. My mind was like, you don't have a choice. My body was like, she right. And then that was it. I'm serious.
Welcome to the Hey Mama podcast. We're your hosts, Tessa and Shayna. We are sisters, mothers, and doulas and are passionate about living an intentional life and all things motherhood. This podcast exists to create community as we learn how to delight in motherhood together.
Join us weekly as we chat with women about anything and everything from non-toxic living to women's health to feeding our families and our favorite topic of all, birth. We are so glad you're here. Hello, and welcome to the Hey Mama podcast. We are so happy you guys are here. I'm Shayna.
And I'm Tessa.
And this is going to be a really fun episode. Before we get into that, and our guest, Tessa, how was your week?
My week was quite exceptional, I will say.
Exceptional. Oh, amazing.
Only because my wonderful mother-in-law was here. And it was so special because she stayed a whole week, and Sage got to have, we call his grandma name for her as Lady. So he got to have his lady all to himself for one whole week. And it was so precious because every morning he'd wake up and go, AD, and scream for her. And I was like, she's not here yet. Mama's here. He did not care about me. I could not put on his shoes because she would put on his shoes. I mean, she was putting him down for naps. I've never had this. I looked at Jake and I was like, this is what a living man feels like. It was honestly, it was great.
It does sound exceptional. It really does.
Shayna, how was your week?
It was good. I just feel kind of tired. I feel like it was a little weary, dreary week with this weather.
Maybe the weather.
Which I love, but I realized, we always we're like, oh, I can't wait for a rain day pre-child.
Yeah.
And then post-child, I'm like, gosh darn it. I can't get her out of the car without being soaking wet. She rips off her shoes. She rips off her beanie. She rips off her jacket because she now knows how to unzip everything I put on her. And I'm like, these were days when this used to be a lot more fun to just be singing in the rain.
Yeah. Drinking a glass of Chardonnay in the middle. I'm kidding.
We never did that.
Sauv Blanc. But, in the middle of the day.
In the rain, just listening to the rain. But I do love it. I'm very thankful. It was very nice weather. And I love that she's learning all the things to do and unzipping and buckling everything. It's very sweet. So that was, I didn't mean to be a little complainer in that moment. I just realized how hard rain is with children. I'm like, I'm glad I don't live somewhere where it rains all the time.
We're so spoiled, and
we are.
Sage every day just goes outside, literally crying, and I'm like, it's 40 degrees, son. It's 40 degrees. We're not going outside. It's drizzling.
Hit golf bus.
Yeah.
Hit golf bus.
Yeah, that's literally all he wants to do. So it's been a trying week, but thank God our lady was here.
Seriously, she's amazing. She's the best.
Amazing. It was so nice.
Oh, well, your week, you had an exceptional week. I had an exceptional week. We are so excited to have our exceptional guest on today. Yes. She is amazing and one of the most intentional mamas we know, and just so thoughtful and warm and generous. And I think she'll be so encouraging and such an inspiration to someone maybe listening if you haven't yet had a baby, or even if you had. She's currently pregnant with her second baby. So I'm really, really excited to talk to KYLEIGH.
And KYLEIGH is actually not from around here, so that's super exciting. She is up north native, and she came down to our LA County area, and she actually had a birth center birth for her first baby, which is truly incredible to us, and so exciting. And we actually had the chance to meet KYLEIGH through a postpartum group that we were hosting at one of the birth centers nearby. And we just instantly fell in love with each other, all three of us. Well, we'll say that. We'll see if she feels the same.
Yeah, we can't speak for
her. But truly feel like we've known her for so long, and just that sister kindred friendship. So we are so happy to have her on today. And KYLEIGH, if you will introduce yourself a little bit, we would love that.
So happy to be here. I'm glad that we're
so
matching. Got
I know. We did. We're all in black.
I love it.
We should have planned this a little better, Shayna and I, but That's okay. That happens.
Perfect. Literally
It
perfect.
It does. Well, tell us a little bit
I'm
just
really,
about you.
yeah, I'm really excited to share. I am from up north. I moved here almost 2 years ago, but I was living here for like 7 or 8 years. And then during COVID, Matthew and I, we moved back up to where my family is, and we thought we would stay there, ironically, because when I left, I'm like, I'm never going back to my hometown, right? But anywhere he goes, I go, right? So we go, and it's actually where we conceived our daughter. And then we're like, all right, we're taking the family back down. And we've been here now since I was 5 months pregnant with
Okay.
Miley, my daughter.
Amazing.
And we love it, of course. We love the area that we're in. It's so much of a different experience living here as parents. I was living like up in Hollywood with him in this high
Yeah.
rise building,
Oh my
just
gosh.
like so different. And so now I'm like in the burbs, and I love this life.
I was gonna say, you start to really appreciate the burbs
You
with
really
kids.
do.
You're like, I love how safe this is and how clean. Look
Yeah.
at these parks.
They're
Yeah.
pristine.
Or parking lots.
Parking
Yes.
lots.
Parking lots.
Parking lots.
Like
Especially coming from LA.
getting a
Yeah.
totally not having to like validate parking and haul the child back into Target because you forgot to validate for your diapers,
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yes. Yes.
a whole different
Good
world.
point.
It is.
Truly. Even just going out to a restaurant when you're like, all right, I'll be there so soon. I'm 20 minutes away. And then you're like, oh, it takes 30 minutes to park. Okay, I forgot that because
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $15 to valet my, Mazda 2016. No, thank you. And I'm going
And
to go
besides,
walk.
mom cars, nobody can get in. Nobody can see my car. Okay, like it's not. You can't get in. I have
Just a
puffs
couple
over
puffs.
here, some socks over there, a diaper over here. It's
Some
like no.
pouches. Yeah.
Yeah,
Extra pair of clothes for everyone.
Yeah,
for everyone.
so good.
Well, we're so happy you're on and we're happy you're here. So we wanted to quickly talk a little bit about you were 5 months pregnant when you moved back down here. So what was your care like prior? And then how did you get to land at the birth center?
So I always knew that I wanted to go like the route of an unmedicated out of hospital birth. And not because of like any specific sort of lifestyle that I lived or anything like that. It was simply because I have like a very actual like fear of numbness. So I knew already that getting an epidural just would be worse in my experience with numbness. That had to be worse than childbirth, right? So that's kind of where I, what led me in that direction. However, when we got pregnant, I was up north, and we knew at that point we were already going to be heading back down to Southern California. So we had done some research and found a birth center. So we knew we had about 5 months until we would be moving down here. So I had no other choice than to just kind of go the traditional route of an OB and hospital and all that. And so we did that, and it was really nice to be able to kind of like have that experience. It was very informative,
Yeah.
in a certain way, and really confirmed my decision that I was making to go the route that I was going. But very grateful and thankful for an ultrasound every 4 weeks, for the first 3 or 4 months. That was exciting, especially as a first time mom. With this one, I've only ever had one, and it was 5 months in. Going and seeing your little nugget get bigger and bigger. So that was super awesome, right? But having my OB introduce herself every time she came in, I'm like, it's me again, remember?
Yes.
So it was comforting to know that during that process, though, I was going to be ultimately no longer in the care of an OB, and I would be in the care of a midwife. So that kind of kept me in good spirits during that not so ideal dynamic that I never really wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I moved out here. I was 5 months pregnant, and then I got in the care of the midwives and everything changed. I was like, oh, this is how it should be, like hugging her when I walk in and like talking. The appointments at my OB were about an hour and 15, and my interaction with the doctor was about 10 minutes. Whereas my appointments with my midwife were an hour and 15, and it felt like a therapy session. It felt like I just felt so full. I was so happy leaving. I'm like, I can't wait to see you in 4 weeks, It was just a completely different experience. And so I will say the reason that I'm having an out of hospital unmedicated birth are no longer for the same reasons it was the first time. It's because I am obsessed with that, method of care, that style of care, and I'm obsessed with my midwife too. So it's just personal at this point. I'm like, I'm literally having babies just so I can come and see you. Like, that's it.
Shayna said that the other day.
Yeah. I was talking to my midwife and I was like, I just got to get pregnant so I can come and hang out with you. I want an hour-long conversation.
Yes.
Just every 4 weeks.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, Tessa, you're meeting with her every week now? Gosh darn it, I miss it. But it is
I love when
special.
they get to that point. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so special. And I think it's so beautiful because you had hand in hand the same, the same care of like one provider throughout the time, but so different. And that's such a beautiful example of, some things are for some people, some things are for other people, and just how beautiful that connection with your provider can be, and just that friendship and relationship that can form.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I told my midwife, I went into my appointment, maybe it was like a 3-day appointment after giving birth. And I told her, I was like, I feel like you imprinted on me. Like the way that she spoke to me. I have a video of my birth and I watch it sometimes and I'm like, to be spoken to that way, to be like touched in the way that she was like, just like touching me when she was like, rubbing my back through the contraction. It was just so intimate and like loving and intentional. I'm like, I saw her and I was like, I just want to give you a hug. She said, okay. And I'm like, like, I feel like a baby again in a way, but like, mama, like my midwife, like, help me. She's like, okay. She must have seen it on my face though, because for that appointment, we walk into the birth center and she's like, go in the room. Go into your room. She said, your room. I'm like, oh. And it was the room that we gave birth in. And so Matthew and I were like, okay. We go in the room. She comes in there. She's like, take this off. She took off my shirt. Told Matthew, lay down. Get behind her. Takes my breast. Takes Miley's shirt off. Nuzzled her onto me. And she said, oh, go to sleep.
Oh.
There was a point where Matthew was like, I think nobody's here. I was like, oh, it's okay. I think we slept there for like 3 hours.
What?
The bed that I gave birth in 2 days.
Oh wait,
2 or 3
that's
days
like
before.
That gave me goosebumps.
I know, it's making me cry.
Oh
That
my
is, you've never
God.
told us that. That is the
I just remembered it
coolest-
kind of like it just kind of came back to me.
That is
She
the most
was
like
like, "Go to
beautiful
sleep."
thing. Oh my gosh.
I think that's the most beautiful example of that what that model of care can be, because she knew you and knew what you needed in that moment, and you didn't have to tell her like, or
We
my
just
wife, I'm
walked in the door.
exhausted. Yeah, that is wow.
It was amazing.
That's literally like, yeah, that is goosebumpy and
Yeah.
all the feelings. That is
Wow.
so incredible.
I'm gonna
love
call her
that
right
she
now
did
and tell her I
that.
love her. Hold on.
Just put it on speakerphone.
Let's all
Are
tell her.
you? I'm like calling the urgent line. Are you up?
She's like,
I just gotta show you
why?
something real quick.
That's
Oh my
So I was just
amazing.
talking about you. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so with the difference, you had 5 months of OB care and then you transferred to birth center care. What was that? Tell us like a little bit more about when you met her. You knew right away, right, that she was going to be your midwife and this was going to be the place. But what was that initial feeling, or how did you feel like when you got there and you're like, you're going to be the person that delivers my baby? Like, how did that feel?
We got that feeling before we even came and met them in person.
Oh, wow.
So we found out we were pregnant and we immediately called. In my experience now, it's hard to get somebody on the phone there, right? It's like you gotta you got to call at the right time. You got to
Mm-hmm.
leave a voicemail, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like things were just aligning so
Mm.
perfectly. We just picked up the phone. I probably took the pregnancy test 3 days prior. We had already
Wow.
researched the birth center before we found out we were pregnant. Just randomly up late one night, just like on the computer. Like we knew we were moving to LA soon, and so we're like, let's see what's even out there for when the time comes, because we knew ultimately this is where we were going to be for our lives. We found
Mm.
the birth center, so we already had it like saved. Maybe a month or two
Wow.
later, I'm pregnant. We're like,
Wow.
call the midwife, right? So we call,
Called
and I'm
it.
just like, I don't know what. I'm just like, hi, I'm pregnant, right? I'm on the phone with her partner, the other midwife that worked there, for an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh.
And
Kylie.
it was that moment that I hung up. And I'm like, these are my people. This is my
Mm.
Mm.
place.
Oh.
Like I can't wait to get there. And so we walked in the door after calling. So we moved we moved from up north down here, Southern California, and we're trying to call to get an appointment. They're like, just call when you get here physically, like you're good. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not answering, and we're like, I don't know, we don't leave voicemails. I'm like, I wish I could have just texted their number. We didn't leave a message or anything. We just like walked in one day,
Oh.
and they were there, and I'm like, hi, I talked to you on the phone. I'm like going like, I talked to you on the phone. My name's Kylie. Like 5 months ago, it was like an hour and a half phone call. Okay, I'm pregnant. I need you guys to take care of me now. Like, and they were like, hi. I'm like, hi. Okay, I don't know what to do, but I'm just here, and I really want you guys. So it was before I even met them. It was that hour and a half phone call where she like was so intentional and gave me her time and really answered all of my questions and
Mm.
just made me feel like this is my place. And
Mm.
it is. It's my place. So it was before I even laid eyes on them.
So cool.
I knew that they were my people.
So cool.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's so neat.
I love it. I love just to hear it too. And just from your perspective, and what an encouragement to just other moms. Just we already know that you are such an encouragement to moms in your community, and you're so proactive about starting things and
Yeah.
spreading the word. But it's just so cool just to have positive birth stories and positive experiences like this, that you can just share it,
Yeah.
because it's so needed and it's not out there. And everyone wants to talk about, everything else besides how amazing birth can be. So
Yeah.
I just love your perspective, your heart on it. And literally, yeah, like your whole just spirit for birth and the process and
Mm-hmm.
having babies.
Yeah.
And you're
All the
doing it
babies.
again. You're amazing.
Doing it, girl.
You are. You
We're
are
doing it.
Oh,
I love it too. Well,
I
do you
do
want
think
to?
they shape.
No, you keep going.
I was just gonna say I do think that they were along with you guys, in the moms group that you guys started and what I got from you. But I do think the bigger picture, the way that I gave birth, the way that I was treated during birth, the way that I was treated postpartum, the way that they opened their doors for you guys to have that community of women come there every week for as long as we wanted to. Sometimes you'd have to kick us
Mm-hmm.
out, right? Me. I'm like, hey, I know it's been, but no, they truly shaped like my identity as a mom. I think that that is something that gets sort of warped or lost or whatever when you give birth. You're literally you're just not the same in any
Yep.
way. And if you have friends that don't have kids and
Yeah.
you're kind of like a lot just alone in the world, it feels, and motherhood can be very isolating. And so I think the group that you guys started and the birth center having I would go in there not even during appointments. I'd be just calling like I can't they're like, come in, Kylie. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like they literally helped form me as a mom. And I don't say that lightly.
Mm.
So
Priceless.
neat. It is
Priceless.
priceless. It really is. And you were one of the most incredible moms we know. And we're so
Mhm.
happy to know you. And yeah, even just seeing your process from when we've known you and just kind of you blooming more and more and more, and just kind of walking into that role of just natural motherhood and just what was already inside of you, but just had to be let out. So it's just so cool that they're able to facilitate that a little bit and just kind of bring it out of you, but in such a nurturing, beautiful, comforting, safe way. So neat. So
the feeling spiritual, ladies.
I'm talking about the midwives. I'm not saying us.
Yeah. Midwives.
It's the midwives.
You included. You guys included.
You're so kind. Well, do you mind telling us a little bit? So we know about your birth process, but what were some ways that you prepared for labor while you were pregnant and prepared for the birth that you wanted?
Because we've seen that birth video, and it's
amazing,
incredible, breathtaking, chilling.
Should you play it right now for us?
It's like my proudest thing. You guys aren't going to want to hear this, but I didn't do anything. I didn't take I'm sorry.
No, we do want to hear this. We do want to hear this.
This is what we want to hear.
Like, I did not take any birthing classes. In fact, you're supposed to buy the kit, your birth kit. With my birth center that I went through, you have to buy this kit for all your stuff, whatever. I didn't buy that because I think I just forgot or whatever.
No way.
I didn't do anything. My mind was like, you don't have a choice. My body was like, she right. And then that was it. I'm serious.
But you ate.
Well, I will say,
you ate food.
You don't want to know.
Listen. Did you watch any videos? How did you prepare mentally? So you didn't, do
all
your
jokes
stretches
aside. Yeah. No, all jokes aside, I think a lot of what got me through delivering my baby was just my mind, seriously. And there are two things that do come to my mind. One, I did read that book by Ina May, and I grabbed 2 or 3 things out of there that truly stuck with me, and I in the moment applied, and I'll share those things. Two come to mind right now. One of the stories, 2 of the stories that I read in the book, and it was really nice to hear people or women share their birth stories in such a condensed, amount of time. You can just unlimited skim. You're just seeing all these, you felt like you're seeing it because they were so well written, but you're reading all of these stories and they were so inspiring. 2 stood out to me and I did apply them. One of them was during my pregnancy. One of the women in the book said that she would go on hikes and take walks with her baby, but she was pregnant, and her baby in her belly. She would talk to her and tell her mommy's gonna need you. We have a big job coming up and we're gonna have to work on this together. You're gonna have to be my teammate and I'm gonna be yours, and it's such a big job we have, but we got this. We're gonna do so good together. And I remember taking baths and speaking that to my daughter. It stood out to me, and it was so simple and so beautiful. And I'm like, that sounds very motivating. My daughter needs to hear me say that to her. She needs to know that you're not going to be in here, all cozy wozy forever. We're going to have a big job coming up, and I'm going to need your help. And I got you. I got you, girl. And so I would say that to Miley. And then also, another story was told in the book, and the mom sort of explained contractions as an actual water, waves through her body. And there was a point in the birthing tub at the birth center where now I know I was about to start pushing, but in the moment I'm in the water, I'm feeling these super powerful sensations, my contractions, and I literally allowed myself to feel them a wave rush through from the top, literally down, picturing water sort of pushing down into my toes. And I was doing that for a little while. And then I said, I need to get out. and then I got out and I pushed out my baby a few minutes later. Um,
Wow.
so that's what I mean by sort of like my mind kind of
Yeah.
um, getting me through. And of course, with the help of that book, I highly recommend it. I will also say that one of the midwives at the birth center gave me a crash course, right? She was like, Kylie, you didn't have a birthing class. And I was like, I don't think I need it. I'm gonna be good. She's like, okay, we're gonna spend your prenatal appointment today. I'm gonna give you a crash course. And she shared with me a few things that stood out, and it actually did
Mm-hmm.
apply during, when I was in labor. One of them was, you're probably gonna feel like you're gonna throw up, and you might,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. And you're
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna feel like you have to
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of bowel movements,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Mamas find
Mm-hmm.
comfort on the potty, and I did,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just sitting there.
Yeah.
But she said that there's going to be a point you're going to reach where you do not think you can continue. You think you're going to have to give up, like you're going to want to stop. That's when you know you're making progress and you're almost there.
Yeah.
And I remember that moment. It was before we called to go to the birth center. And I was sort of sleeping through my contractions. I would just clock out every time a contraction was passed. And at one time, another one came, and I woke up, and Matthew was next to me, and he's like so encouraging. Like, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what I would have been able to do, because at a certain point, my mind sort of wasn't there. And so all I knew was during my contractions, Matthew would say, it's almost over. It's almost over. He knew how long they were lasting. I had no concept of time or anything else. He's like, it's almost over. Just hang on. It's almost over. And I'm like, it is? Okay. And it really got me through. But during one of those moments, that moment that my midwife told me was going to happen, happened. And I woke up and I looked at him and I said, this hurts really bad. And me saying that, like admitting that I was feeling uncomfortable, that was my moment of like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I might have to stop. And then I remember what she told me, that this moment's going to happen and you're almost there. Like, that's your peak. And I was like, if this is the peak, all right, I can do that. And I did. I did it.
You did it so
So I
beautifully.
called my midwife and I went, and then I gave birth like 2 hours later. But I would say those few things are what got me through and prepared me. My diet, you guys, it wasn't that great. Mamas out there, plug your ears, don't listen to me. I lost my appetite almost completely during my whole pregnancy. It wasn't on purpose. I didn't feel sick. I just was like, food, whatever. And so I had to be very, very intentional. And my midwife was like, listen here, lady. And I'm like, okay. So I really did force myself to eat, but my appetite went away. I drank a good amount of water and yeah, but don't listen to me. Don't do what I did. Okay. It's not the way, but it worked out. I got a pretty healthy baby.
Exactly.
It did. And you, I would say, just from knowing you, we didn't know you during the process of leading up to your birth, but you're very intentional with everything you do. So whether or not you thought maybe it was these big things that you should have been doing, you were still intentional with mentally preparing, which is huge. Because you knew your limit, you knew what to do when that came, you knew how to handle those surges and those intense moments. And birth is 80% mental. So that is huge. And prepping your mind and just that mentality of like emotionally and physically, all those things play into it. And that is a huge thing when you're preparing for labor. You knew what to do. You read those encouraging stories. I'm sure you saw other women giving birth on, random YouTube video or something. Like you did that mental prep work, which is amazing. And that is a really big deal. So you did it. You did it. Don't say you didn't prep, because you did. that takes a lot.
And it's something too, because even when we are working with our clients, that's something that's really hard to get across to them, is just like, all right, this is a mental game. Like, not that it's a game as like, but like truly it's a mind over matter, it's a telling your body that you can. And it's such a mental, like, feat that you have to overcome. That's something really hard to teach people and to work on, of just like, okay, to like train someone of like, you're going to have to work it out in your mind. Right. And kind of, this is like a fight almost within yourself of like, all right, just telling yourself like, I can do this, and releasing this fear and tension cycle that, wants to just take over you. But that's something really hard to teach a mama. So the fact that like, you were already there with that. So you had it. And that's something that's just, it's so key.
Yeah. And the fear, tension, pain cycle, that's what you're talking about when you're saying of like that mental thing, because your body knows how to give birth. We mentally will be like, but I'm feeling this pain. I'm feeling these things. Then that can cause fear. Then that can cause tension. Then that cause pain. And then we go in that cycle.
We get in the way.
We get in the way. Our bodies know how to do it. Yeah. Our baby knows how to do it. But it's us of like, we are experiencing these things that we've never experienced. And of course, that's going to be, our instinct of we want to tense up. And so it's that relaxing, and that's that wave. That's why that wave analogy is amazing. Because it does exactly that. It forces you to relax from your head to your toes, because you're imagining this and vision. And the imagery is really powerful in birth. So that is amazing. You did amazing. You did the prep work, girl. You did.
Do you feel like, and this would just be a side question from it, but do you feel like with now baby number 2, how do you feel like things have just shifted or been a little bit different with just even preparation with like mental, or with whether it's been more physical? Obviously you're chasing a toddler, so that's already so different. But have you just noticed like body differences, or just, things like that?
Yeah, you're right. I spent a good amount of my 3rd trimester on the couch here at home with Miley, when I was pregnant with Miley, because the winter I was just baking a baby, so I was like, okay, that's totally different. And the 1st trimester was like insane when I had my morning sickness or my all day sickness, because I was like having to still mom, right? So it was a whole added layer of whoa. Right.
Yep.
And there were moments where I thought, what did I do? How could I, why did I, oh my gosh. Right. And I'm not going to be able to. And so the mind was really working in that way too, with this pregnancy. You're right. I'm running around after my baby all the time. I think the community that I have taken from, all of my resources, and I've learned so much from, allows me to be even more intentional, right? And allows me to give myself these options. If I don't want to have a meal, okay, let me just sip some bone broth like my sisters, or let me, just make myself an adrenal cocktail. I'm like, who is she?
You are seriously, who are you?
I'm the 3rd.
We love it.
No, seriously though. I think that having experienced it already and kind of knowing like, okay, you will be fine, but like you might be a little extra tired if you try not to like eat anything all day, right? Like understanding that like food wasn't this enemy that I just like, or like a task. It's like an option for me to really take care of myself and make myself feel better. Like wondering like, why do I feel like crap, or why am I super tired, or in my 1st trimester, why do I have these terrible headaches? Like, well, I should probably have some water and take some more magnesium, like try to, fuel your body maybe. I don't know. And not being able to just feel like, oh, I just feel like crap all day. I didn't really eat anything, but I have the luxury of laying down all day in bed. I can't, because I have my baby now. So I have to I don't feel good. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling sluggish. I have to do something about it. And I have to call Shayna and I have to call Tessa and ask them what I do about it. And then I do that. Um, but kind of not having that option anymore to like not treat myself well as I should or take care of my body and feel myself too. And now having a baby that eats, I'm thinking so much about what she's eating, and then it makes me think about what I'm eating, and it just kind of becomes this like really amazing cycle. And then I'm like, Matthew, here, try this. You have a headache, here, let me give you this. Like, and he's like, what? You know, I'll take a Tylenol or something. I'm like, well, let's just try the magnesium lotion, right? Or you can drink some of my magnesium, you know. Let me rub this on, you know, whatever. And he's like
So good.
slowly being like, okay, you know. But for now, it's something that I take a lot of pride in, even if it's my daughter who's reaping the most benefits of like these changes that I'm making, and then my other daughter inside who I'm being more intentional about what I feed myself and feeding myself at all. So I think that's something that I'm it's different for me in a positive way.
Absolutely.
This time around.
That's awesome. Yeah, it kind of forces you to prioritize a little bit more and be like, I have to take care of myself so I can take care of the toddler, and then I'm also taking care of this baby inside of me. So, and it's a perfect just preparation for motherhood in all aspects of just this is kind of what we do, right? We know that if we are depleted and we have no fuel and nothing to run on, it is going to come out on our kids. It's going to come out how we talk to them. It's going to come out how we treat them and our husbands and everything like that. So just knowing that self-care doesn't mean massages and it does, but massages and going to Erewhon Market, you know, but it does mean to like fuel your body every single day with things that actually are going to reap benefits and are going to help you and are going to help your breast milk and are going to help give energy for your little one. So just so cool. Just so cool to see the shift of like what becomes important during this time.
Yeah.
That's so
Totally.
neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
And
it.
this is something that's completely new in general, right? Like I never was intentional about like a lifestyle at all. And another benefit with going this route with, you know, my pregnancy with Miley, my first baby, just catapulted me into this world, right? That wasn't my goal. That wasn't my intention. I didn't even think about it. No one around me was intentional about anything, right? No shame, it's just the truth. And, you know, and so it just kind of like catapulted me into this amazing, informative world that I, you know, slowly take from as much as I can. And I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
So neat. I love it. I love it. Before we move on to the next question, I just wanted to finish off with your birth a little bit. So we know you had the baby after about 2 hours. You got out of the tub and you had baby.
Not a 2-hour labor. 2 hours at the birth center, right?
Yes, that's what I meant. You transitioned from home to the birth center and you had baby within 2 hours of getting to the birth center. And you got out of that tub and you said, I need to get on dry land, and tell us kind of what happened after that.
I don't know what it was. My goal was to always give birth in the bathtub. Like I'm like water birth. Yeah. You know, and something came over me while I was in the bath. I thought, I got to get out. I got to be in control right now. And my midwife knew, because I told her, I said, I want to get out. She said, do you want to push? And I said, I want to get out. She said, okay. She said, you can push in the water. I said, I have to get out. She's like, okay. But she knew, like she's trying to get out of the water because she something's happening. You know, mama knows what's going on. And so she knew that my goal was to give birth in the water. So she tried to gently say, is this why? You know, you can do it in here. But my mind changed. And I said, no, I have to get out. So I got out. Mind you, we had been there for about 2 hours. I went into labor at 3:15 on the dot. Matthew was working late and he messaged me and said, I'm off. I'll be home at 3:15.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the bed here.
Oh my gosh.
I used to be up late because I was, I'm having a baby. So I was up watching shows and having fun all night. And so I was like up, hadn't been to sleep yet. And
Oh my god.
um, I went to get in the bed. I put my knee into the mattress and I said, like, I stopped and I was like, whoa, whatever that was, I've never felt that in my life. And that was something. And so I like hunched over like on my tiptoes and I just went to the toilet and I was like, I gotta sit right here. While I'm here, let me see what time it is. Because if this was something that was going on, let me make sure I know what time it happened. I looked at the clock and it was 3:15, and then I hear Matthew walk in the door.
Wow.
And I'm like, he walks in, I'm on the toilet, and he's like, he said something, and I was like, "Rawr." I don't know what he said, but I was like, at him, and he was like, okay. And I was like, I think I'm having the baby, or I think I'm in labor. I think I just had a contraction, or something I said. Then that continued. He's like, should we call the midwife? I'm like, call the midwife. And so that continued for 9 hours at home. My water broke in the bed. I'm laying there, pop. I just felt, talk about a wave. It just poured out of me. Never felt nothing like that in my life, right? And I called my midwife maybe 2 or 3 times during that process, and she just encouraged me over the phone, listened to my contractions. She knew what she was listening for. So then I got to the point where I said, call the midwife. And so he called her and she listened, and it was funny. She's like, where do you feel your pain, or where do you feel it? And I said, in my butt. She said, go ahead and come over, get over here. And I was like, we're coming. So we're in the car and I don't remember the drive. I don't remember anything. I get there. She immediately undresses me. She checks. I think she asked if I wanted to be checked, or I was like, I did. I just wanted to kind of know, like, where are we? Even though I know it doesn't mean anything in the bigger grand scheme, but I was like, I just want to know. And she was like, we're at 8. And I was like, amazing. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Get in the pool, fell asleep in the pool. Matthew and I at that point had been up since 3 a.m., right? And so right before I got out of the pool, maybe I was in the pool for maybe an hour, or the bath for maybe an hour and a half. And I remember hearing my midwife say, go lay down. And she sent Matthew out to just sleep for a couple hours. So it was just her and I and the other midwife in there just watching me sleep. I guess they said I was snoring in the bath. I don't remember. And so it was when I asked her if I can get out, because I felt, I guess, the urge to push. I needed to push. They were helping me out. I was like, get Matthew. And she was like, we will. And so I get on the bed and I didn't even push. It really didn't feel like I had to, like, I'm used to like blue in the face, people holding up your legs in the stirrups, screaming. Like, I thought that it was, chin digging into your chest. You can't breathe. Like, I thought that's what pushing was like. But for me, it wasn't. I just pushed, but it didn't really feel like I had to try really hard. And so I pushed a little bit, and then I said, oh, and so I remember I was like, I want to relax. She goes, okay, well then your baby's going to go back in a little bit. And I'm like, that's fine. Because now that I just felt that, I need to know, all right, my mind needed to be like, we're about to do this. And I was like, get Matthew, So she yells, Matthew. He comes running down, and then I'm like, all right, I got to have my baby really quick. So I pushed again, and I felt maybe some burning a little bit. Her head popped out. And then we sat there for a couple of minutes until my next contraction. And I pushed again a little bit, barely. And my baby came out. And they laid her on my chest. And I was gone. There was a point where my midwife said, KYLEIGH, come back to your body. Because I couldn't look at my daughter. I wasn't, like, I was in 2 places. And I don't know if that sounds crazy or dramatic. I don't know if that even sounds believable, but truly, like, the fact that my midwife had to say, like, come back to your body. Like, whatever I was experiencing was, like, they could see. And then I took a deep breath and I like blinked a few times and when I'm like, all right, okay, let me see what we got, and I'm like, ah,
Mm.
and I cried for like 10 minutes straight and we just laid there and she just laid there and then she peed on me and then we just laid there for like a few hours and we latched a little bit and then we went home. Well, there was a lot more to it then,
So
but yeah, it was incredible.
So incredible. So incredible to hear it. And I just love that. That's, yeah, you didn't really have to push because you let Miley do it with you, right? Just like you had prepped her. All right, baby girl, we got to do it together. And she knew. It's so neat. It's so
She
cool.
knew.
It's so
My
cool to
girl.
see when the body works just like it was supposed to,
Yeah.
right? And it just releases the baby from your uterus and baby girl is our side.
Yeah.
So neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So neat.
And being in labor land, or whatever you want to call it, that's super common. And there needs to be, you can be so, a lot of women have that experience where they're hovering over their body, or they were such an out of body experience that reminder of like, come back into your body, come back. All right, baby has been born. Come back and meet your daughter. That happens to a lot of moms, and you were just so in the zone that little reminder, that little nudge of like, okay, kind of like you did it, your body did it. Come back down and meet your daughter, because you knew it was a girl, right? That wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
We knew.
Okay. Yeah. So, but just so beautiful. So neat.
I love it.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you.
story, your birth story. Real quick before we wrap up, we wanted to see, I know that your postpartum journey and your breastfeeding journey had some beautiful highs and some lows. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your breastfeeding journey, and then ultimately what was the turning point in that journey for you?
How much time do we have?
Do your best.
I think breastfeeding and then just like feeding my baby was the biggest part of motherhood for me. And I did not expect it at all. I joked that I had such an easy, incredible birth and pregnancy, and everything was just amazing. That I like, this is your hard part. This is your thing, everything was so easy. I gotta get something, right? And my thing was nursing. Miley didn't latch for the first 3 days. I had my midwife bring me some of her milk to feed my daughter. She donated some breast milk to me, and it kept my baby alive for the first 2 days. I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
We found out not until my baby was 3 weeks old that she had a pretty intense tongue tie after going to 3 or 4 different doctors and dentists and specialists in Beverly Hills, right? And everyone kept telling me that nothing was wrong, but something was wrong. She started to latch after 3 or 4 days, but the pain was head to toe. I will confidently describe it as being worse than giving birth. When you're in labor, the waves come and go, and ultimately it does stop. You nurse your baby from the second they're born for as long as you guys can. It never ends. The only relief is when you're not nursing, and then insert tragic guilt you have for being thankful that you're no longer feeding your baby right now because the pain was so bad you just wanted to stop.
Yeah.
So finally, one Saturday morning, one of the benefits of having a midwife, I'm in the fetal position along with my daughter in bed in a pool of my own tears and milk. And I just called her. I'm in tears. And she said, come to the birth center right now. Okay, mama. Come. I bring my baby, and she's like, KYLEIGH, she's tied. And I don't know why I didn't bring her in sooner. Or here's the thing, don't not talk about what you're going through, right? Because if you're acting like you think that it's supposed to be normal to be in pain and you don't tell people, and you don't tell your midwife or your doctor or your whoever, you need to talk about it so that something can be done, right? And so she was like, Kylie, oh my goodness. She gave me this number, call Monday morning. Oh, so sorry. Nipple shields saved my breastfeeding journey. But at the same time, they were like the bane of my existence. I just hated them for some reason. But I'm very thankful to to nipple shields, because it was what allowed me to continue to nurse my baby through excruciating pain. And then I went Monday morning, called, had her tie released, and I thought that would be it. My nipples had suffered so much damage from a poor latch for almost a month that, like, ideally someone has a tongue tie release and like a whole new world opens up, and that did not happen for me. So insert anger, insert resentment, insert regret. Why did I just put my daughter through this procedure if it didn't even help me? So insert, oh, shame because you're being selfish. It wasn't about you. It's about the benefits ultimately that a tongue tie release does have for a baby, right? But it wasn't about that. It was about me not having pain anymore, right? Layers and layers and layers and layers of struggle, honestly. It wasn't until Miley was about 5 months old that I began to nurse her without pain and without a nipple shield. And then I get pregnant 2 months later, and the pain comes back because I'm pregnant, right? I will say that I was very alone in my experience that that the poor latch caused. It caused something called like vasospasms in my nipples, where the latch was completely clamping down. It caused like sort of like a nerve damage, and it would constrict the nipple, and blood was no longer being released to my nipples during feedings. They were turning white, and it would feel like somebody is stabbing me in my nipples and then in my back, like shooting into my shoulder blades every time I nursed. And it would last for quite a while. I had to put like those things you take in your pocket to keep your hands warm. I had to put those on my breast because I needed constant heat. If I got the chills, it would activate it. It was very traumatic. It was very traumatic and awful. And I didn't give up. I couldn't stop nursing my baby. There were points where I found myself in Target at 9 o'clock at night saying, tonight's the night. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give her formula. I'm stopping. And I'm standing there, and it felt like the aisles were like, or the shelves were like 40, 50 feet tall, and I just was shrinking and shrinking and looking up. And then I can't even read the labels or the tins of milk because my eyes won't stop welling with tears because I did not want to stop nursing my baby. And so I just sucked it up, and I suffered through the pain until it stopped, and it did. And then, like I said, I got pregnant, and it started again. I got pregnant with my second when Miley was 7 months old, and the vasospasms came back, the pain came back. I, at this point now, suffered with it for until she was like almost 11 months, so like just about 11 months, yeah. And I found myself again in tears at a grocery store, but this time I was on the phone with Shayna, holding my daughter now, rocking her, crying in public, asking, what do I do? What do I give her? I don't want to do formula. She's almost 1. Like, Mama. No. And Shayna, as she does, so gracefully talked me through it and encouraged me and led me into a direction that I was comfortable with. And I bought some milk for my daughter, and then I gave it to her that night. And we weaned, which I think my labor and delivery with Miley has been a metaphor for who my daughter is. She uh, things come very easy to her, and she adapts well, and she's very flexible and smart. And so when I started to explain to her that we were going to be, weaning, she understood me, and she was like, "All right, mama." I'm like, "Cool."
Yeah.
And so I started sort of cold turkey, just not nursing her during the day. If she wanted a nurse, I would just offer her some water or something. We did that for about 5 or 6 days, and then I decided the night that I bought the milk at the store, and I'm on the phone with Shayna crying, was the night that I decided I wasn't going to nurse her at nighttime anymore. Bought the milk, went home, uh, took a bath with my baby, and I told her, uh, "This is the last time. Okay,
Oh.
after this, we're not going to nurse anymore. Okay, it's going to be all gone." And she said, "All right, let me get some." I said, "Okay." And so I told myself that when she lets go and plays with her bath toys floating around, that would be the last time.
Oh my God.
And it was. She nursed for a minute or two, popped off, started playing, took a bath, and that was it. She was like, "I know, Mama." Like, that's
Mm.
So cool.
She did know.
Yeah, it was easy. And I think I have moments now though where I think about it and I'm like, whew, I really did something. And I think I sort of blacked it out. I think my experience with nursing overall was just so intense that like in order to like protect myself and give myself grace, I couldn't really go deep into how big it is to stop.
Yeah.
I was like, this has been so big in my life, it has to be small. It has to be small and easy. And with my amazing team here, my lifelines, Shayna and Tessa, I'm like texting, you guys seriously helped me so much. And the last thing I will say about that, aside from talking to you two about it that night after I was deciding, like, I think I'm really going to do this, my weaning experience was incredibly private. I didn't share it with her dad. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't talk about it at all. I think nursing is so intimate and there's no one else experiencing. There could be another mom nursing her baby and it's still not you and your baby. This is the most intimate. No one else is a part of it. Just you and your baby. And so I felt like it started that way and I wanted it to end that way as well. And I also didn't want like people to hold me accountable for something that like maybe I didn't finish if I like talked about quitting and then or weaning and then I started again. I didn't want that. So I just kept it very private and then I told her dad one day like, "Oh yeah, we don't nurse anymore. Like we stopped." He's like, "What?"
Wow.
But it was very, very intimate, very private, aside from when I finally called you guys in tears. As I do, right?
No, you don't do that a lot. We love it.
Yeah, and thank you just for sharing all that. That is just so many beautiful moments in your journey that you have overcome. And just, I love the sweet, I just noticed just with you saying like, okay, this time around with baby number 2, you just know now you have this community and this village around you. And then kind of with the next obstacle with weaning Miley, it was like, yeah, you had people too that after you decided that they were going to be there for you and support you and you weren't alone, and that now you know, okay, it's not normal, to keep it inside and like, let me tell someone about it, whatever that is and however that looks, right? For the next obstacle or journey or part of your journey. But that's just such a neat thing is like you figured out your way with that. And then now it's like, yeah, you do have your community. You do have your sisters that, you know, we all get to live this together, and that's what we want so much, you know. It's just something that we know is missing today in our culture and in our generation, especially, but just really wanting to be there from mama to mama and hearing each other and holding each other and
holding space for one another and space to share and space to cry and space to laugh. And there is such a beautiful bond of a mother to mother and a friend like that, where, some people might not understand, but you know that might not have gone through what you've gone through, but you know that there is a listening ear and a safe space. And that is so beautiful and courageous of you to step out and be like, okay, like I'm then clinging to this village and I'm holding tight, and we are, and you're such a uniting force of we're going to walk forward together in this. And that is so beautiful. So you're amazing.
I love you guys.
Thank you. We love you so much.
Well, it's been just amazing to talk with you and just hear just in a different light, you know, kind of just your story and your journey. And before we end, we wanted to see if you had any little encouragement for mamas who might be in a similar season, whether it's with having pain and not knowing if it's normal or not to talk about it, or just with a weaning journey and kind of that breastfeeding journey that, you know, is supposed to be beautiful and amazing from the start. And it was beautiful and amazing at the end for you, which is so cool. But just any encouragement with that.
Absolutely. I think the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe the hardest thing to do, is to just like be nice to yourself. Cut yourself some slack. You know, if it was the way that you gave birth or the way that you wanted to feed your baby and it doesn't align with your big dream or this way that you thought that it would look, like, mourn that. Give yourself permission to, like, ultimately, like, to mourn it, to say goodbye to it, but then, like, serve yourself, right? Like, you didn't want to be a formula mama. Like, what? You know, like, if you have to, give your baby formula. You wanted to co-sleep, but it doesn't work for you, do what works for you. And if you have to say goodbye to this big idea that you already made up in your mind before you even were a mom, say goodbye to it, right? Like give it permission to have been something that you tried. And I believe one thing that happens when you become a mom is you become this like resilient, take nothing, you know, take everything and don't give up. You become this person. But there are some things that you may have to give up and say goodbye to, and just like be nice to yourself about it. And something that I'm working on, some days are easier than others. It would be to, like, what would I say to my girlfriend if this was like her? Say that to yourself, right? Give yourself advice as if it was a homegirl calling you in tears at Trader Joe's, right? So just be nice, be flexible, meaning be nice to yourself, be flexible, and be okay with things having to change, and mourn the loss of your big, you know, way that you thought things would look, and then move on. And then see that your baby's so happy. She doesn't care. And she's healthy, and you're happy, and you're healthy. And to the core, as cliche as that may sound, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you, KYLEIGH, so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. I believe it's going to be so encouraging to Mama. I know it was so encouraging to me. So thank you for sharing it, and thank you for coming on. And we can't wait to have you on for baby number 2's birth story. It's so exciting. So
I can't
fun.
wait either. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
Truly
course,
an honor.
of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honor is all ours. Seriously.
Thank you, KYLEIGH.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Mama. We're so thankful you decided to join us today, and we hope you go forward in your day feeling encouraged and seen.
Here are a few ways you can connect with our community and support the show. The first way is to share the show with a friend via text or Instagram. You can follow and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And finally, follow us on Instagram at For Mama Birth.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode.